Real Madrid are back in the win column, beating Alaves 2-1. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And let's get straight into it because we won, right? 2-1, Mbappe, Rodrigo scoring. But it was a weird game because there was a large part of the game where there was moments of us getting pinned down in our own box. Yes, Real Madrid was getting pinned down in our own box by Alaves, right? And Alaves is they're a good team, right? They're a solid team, strong team, but we were literally getting pinned down in our own box for moments on end. And Mbappe and Vinny couldn't get the ball. They had a possession on this, and some teams usually have possession and they pass it around the center backs. They pass it around in like the halfway of the field, and they don't really do much, right? When a lot of these teams you see a lot of possession stats, it's because they have the ball and they're not really doing too much with it, right? But they actually had us in the final 20 yards of the field, just hitting us with crosses and plays and this and that. Courtois saved us multiple times again. You could look at the stats, you could look at the expected goals, but if you watch the game, you can see how bad we looked. We looked terrible. Like I said, we were literally in the final 20 to 30 yards of the field, just waiting there, defending for our lives. It was a terrible watch. Like we're once again, I'm gonna keep saying that we are Real Madrid. We shouldn't be in the final 30 yards against Alaves in a must-win game for our manager and for their players, in a must-win game to get closer to Barcelona. We shouldn't be in the final 30 yards defending for our lives with Mbappe and Vinny not even getting near the ball. It was a bad watch. And look, Mbappe gets an amazing goal. The goal, yeah, I think that's like his certified type of goal, right? He always has that type of goal where he goes one on one, cuts in once or twice, and top right corner, perfect goal, very well taken by Mbappe. And it's like his classic goal. You could tell we missed it last game. We know no Mbappe. We don't score many goals, right? But from there on and out, we really didn't do much. You can look at the stats and you see like I think it's like six goals on six expected or six shots on target, and now that's only like two or three. But most of those opportunities came in the end when we were winning and Alaves was down. Alaves was hurt when we scored the second goal, and they were just down. Right, it was over for them. They felt like it was down because they worked so hard for them to lose. And you could just see that everything went down when we scored the second goal. So a lot of those opportunities, I'm pretty sure, came in the second half, in the last 15 minutes after the second goal. But then there from the first goal for the first Real Madrid goal, Alaves was honest. They were honest. That's how they got the goal. They were honest, and they really were going for the game. Right, like I'm telling you, right. Their center backs were on the halfway line. They were trying doing their best to create chances. Courtois had some unbelievable saves, like always, saving us. And it was just a tough watch, right? We won. I'm happy we won. I'm happy in the way we won too, with Vinny doing a play with Rodrigo. You know that the penalty. It could be a penalty. It couldn't be a penalty. I genuinely don't care if it would have been marked or unmarked. I would if they didn't give it to us and we tied the game. I would still be more mad at the team than I would be the ref. I'm not going to complain about the penalty. If you think it was a penalty, then you think it was a penalty. If you think it wasn't a penalty, it doesn't matter to me. And yeah, like if we would have tied the game and they didn't give us a penalty, I wouldn't be mad at the ref. I'd be mad at the team for tying anyways and we're trying to rely on the penalty. But that's just me. And yeah, I think I like the way that Vinny created the chance. I like the way that Rodrigo got his goal. 2 games in a row now, City and Alaves. I think, look, I think this is going to be his starting front three or I think it should be his starting front three for the next couple of games, right? Because you have Mastantuono who's there, Brahim Diaz is off to AFCON, and a certain man, Arda Guler, has been terrible. He's been terrible. Like he's every time he's on the ball, he looks slow. He makes like the simplest of passes backwards or sideways, and Arda Guler has not been on it. I think he should hold bench for a bit. I think there's players who deserve to get some more minutes in midfield. Once I know our defense is in and out right now, red cards, injuries, but Arda Guler has not been good. I think there's a chance that Mastantuano gets a couple more minutes in the next couple of games over him. I don't. I know injuries have made Arda Guler come in, but I think we saw Xavi Alonso in a couple of games prior to injuries, prior to everything, that Arda Guler doesn't start in his main starting lineup. I don't think Xavi Alonso started Gulera in his best lineup. You have Jude, you have Camavinga, Chouameni, Valverde. Now you have the inclusion of Rodrigo, who started very well these last two games. I don't think you can drop Rodrigo. You can drop. I think Mbappe is our goal scorer, and I think Vinny's picking up a bit of form, a bit of excitement in last, at least in this game. I think most of our chances that we did create came from Vinny being electric. And I think, they're going to find themselves. Vinny and Mbappe and Rodrigo, they're going to find themselves. You can see it this game. There was a lot of movement around. So sometimes you see, that's something that I really liked, right? There was moments where I could see Rodrigo come into like the striker role and Mbappe go out right wing. You can see Vinny come into the centrally and Rodrigo's putting in the left wing area. Sometimes you see Vinny and Mbappe with Jude on the left in like a 4-4-2 type of style with Rodrigo on the left, Jude pretty wide. I like the movement. I like the fluidity when it came to those movements, but it was still a bad game from us. It was still a bad game from us. We were getting pinned down by Alaves. And look, I don't want to be that. Look, there's fans right now all over social media that if we lose, they want Xavi out. If we win, they want Xavi to stay for the rest of the season and next 5 years. And I'm not that type of fan. I'm not going to be calling for Xavi's head. If we lose, I'm not going to be excited if we win one game. I think we need to get a run of games. I think Barcelona is in a stage right now where they will have a run of 10, 15 games where they won't drop many points, where they will win 10 games and tie two or three. And we need to be there to sniff out the Barcelona when they drop points right now, because they have Rafinha coming back, Rashford is looking well for them, Lamine Yamal is all right for them right now. Ferran scoring goals for them. Pedri is back. Eric Garcia. They seem to have found a foundation for this season with Eddie Garcia, with Gerard Martin. They have a base right now, and for us, we need to stick to what has worked. And I think right now what's working is Rodrigo on the right. Right now, what it's working is Jude, Chouameni, and Camavinga when he's fit. I don't think Arda Güler has been very good. Or Valverde when we have a right back come back, or we have more defenders come in. I think we need to stay solid. We need to find the base, stand your base, mate. That's what we need to do. Because Barcelona, they look too safe. They look too reliable to win, right? You can rely on a Barca win right now. You can't rely on a Madrid win. And like I was saying, if we lose, I'm not gonna cover Xavi's head. If we win, I'm not gonna be over the moon. I did that for Atletico Bilbao in the form we won. And yeah, I'm not gonna be over the moon. I think I'll be over the moon when we get a run of games of wins and winning convincingly and not struggling too much against these type of teams, right? Playing good football, playing good tactical, like controlling games. A lot of fans on social media, we lose a game, Xavi out. We win a game, Xavi in, and get rid of this player and that player. No, we'll see how it goes. I want to get a good run of games in, and if that run of games doesn't come, then we'll see what happens with the coach and the players. But right now, there's too many people who, when we lose, Xavi out, Xavi out, Xavi out, or Vinny out, or Rodrigo, Sir Rodrigo, or it's Mbappe, it's this. No, like I said once, and I'll say it again. This isn't Vinny's team. This isn't Mbappe's team. This isn't Jude's team. This is Real Madrid. Everyone should play for the team. And Benzema said it himself. Everyone needs to play their role. I like what Benzema said. Everyone needs to play their role. If someone's better than you, then you got to play to each other's strengths and work around and work with each other. And this is no one's team. This is Real Madrid's team. There's players that are better than others, and we need to play to each other's strengths. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, good win. Sometimes you just need these wins that come out of nowhere. These wins that you probably won't control the whole game, but you need to win. You need to win no matter what. And I'm glad that Vinny found it. We had a couple solid performances in there. I think I've been impressed with Raul Asensio. Since the Club World Cup, he had terrible performances. But I think as of recently, with all the injuries and red cards and whatsoever, I think Asensio's been pretty reliable. I don't think he's put in bad like games. Right? I think Rudiger has been very. Rudiger is the one that's let me down in the last couple of games. Like this game, he was at fault for a good amount of the chances that Alaves had. There's a moment where he literally runs to the player. The player just moves it a little bit to the side, and Rudiger's gone. And that's the one that Courtois blocked. But yeah, I've been disappointed with Rudiger, but Asensio, I think, hasn't played like a terrible game. I think he's been alright, like a 6. or a 7 or sometimes like a 7.5 ratings. And yeah, I think we needed this win. We need to get a good run of games in. Vinny and Mbappe. Mbappe looks to be still injured, which I don't like. I don't like how injured he looks. There's moments where he like hold his knee or he'd get tackled and he just hold his knee for a little bit. You know, he doesn't look 100% fit. I don't like the way things are looking for him when it comes to the injury. Like I said, he didn't look fit. And let's see. Look, hopefully everyone's fit. Hopefully Kamavinga comes back. I really like Kamavinga. Hopefully the injuries don't take too long. Housen is back. You know, he's back from injury, so a little bit more stability. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of him right now, or the way he started. You know, he's still young. But yeah, good win. I want to get a good run of games and to see how things go and to actually say this guy out. But look, don't if you're a Madrid fan and you're watching this, just know. Don't listen to all this social media stuff. Don't listen to this is Vinny's team. Don't listen to this is Mbappe's team. Don't listen to this guy out if we lose. Don't listen to this guy out if we win. Don't listen to that. Watch the games and let's see how things go. Peace.